mean, it's better than ending with a loss, but I don't know. I think the second the game was over, it's just you're glad you won and didn't play bad, but there's like, man, we were so close to the playoffs. And, yeah, I mean, it's just so it's like a weird, bittersweet feeling where you won, and it was, good to go out strong with a, every team's going to be different every year, and that's just part of the business side of it. But, man, we're so close to the playoffs, and it just sucks that we are going home. So it's kind of a mixed feelings.
What was the prep like as y'all got ready for this week, and why did y'all want to come out and kind of make sure you got finished on a good note?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me and in my situation, starts don't grow on trees, so every single one is important, and I think our locker room, it starts with the type of guys you bring into the locker room, and then the culture that Zach has established. I don't even think there was really a thought that we were going to come out and not play hard for a couple of reasons. I think one, football is pretty physical, and the second you come out not prepared, that's where injuries happen. And I think two, at least for me personally, nobody really said anything about it, but I think one of the cooler stats there's all these stats that pop up on TV, and one of the cooler ones that I always saw, I mean, I hate the Steelers just as much as everybody else, but the fact that Mike Tomlin has had that many winning seasons, hopefully however many years from now, Zach has that same thing, and there'll be a little bit of that, like, all right, and I guess it's 2024 now. Good thing we got that win. And so the streak's at 3. It's not even close to Mike Tomlin, but it's still alive, and I think that's a pretty cool stat for a coach to have. And, Zach gave me my opportunity and has treated me really, really well, and is the reason I'm still allowed to put on pads on a Sunday. And so I kind of wanted that for him. I think it's a cool stat to have as a coach.
Is there any conversation amongst the players about that stat, do you think, or just something
No,
you thought about?
just something I thought about. I mean, there's a lot of reasons to go play hard. You're in the NFL, and just because you're not in the playoffs, I think you always kind of remembered on how'd you play, prepare, and what was your intensity like when you're backs, and I guess not backs against the wall, but just in games that don't matter. And so wanted to go out strong.
As you said, starts don't grow on trees. How do you think you did over these 7 starts?
I mean, the goal was to make it into the playoffs, so that part, not well. I think as we get further away from the season, I'll remember the good, hopefully, but I think I'm kind of wired to remember some losses that I could have played better. But I think I've established that I'm capable of being a starter in the NFL. It's obviously a weird situation where I feel like, hey, I'm one of the top 32 quarterbacks in the world, and I just so happen to be on a roster with a guy that's proven that he's a top 5 quarterback in the world. And so, what that looks like going forward, I have no idea, nor do I have any control, so I'm not going to think about it a ton. But I think when I go watch all my film to try and figure out what I'm going to work on this offseason, I'll be proud of what I put on tape. But the goal was to go to the playoffs, and we didn't, so that's pretty motivating going into the offseason too.
Besides the obvious of what you said, making the playoffs, when you look back at that first starting opportunity in the NFL, is there anything over these last few weeks you wish you did differently?
I mean, find a way to win one of the last 2 games. I mean, all 3 of the losses, just find a way to get one of those. And I don't think there was really like any overarching theme to them. It's just, you got to find a way to go win at Arrowhead. You got to go find a way to win at the Steelers or at home against the Steelers. So really just figure out how to play better against the Steelers would be kind of the main takeaway. But, yeah, I don't have any like overarching theme. I think that I don't want to have opinions until I watch all my film together, and I think you start to get a feel for like what the things you need to improve on are.
Jake, why was it important for you to reach out to Tyler Boyd in the middle of this press gathering to kind of show him some love?
Yeah, I think TB's, he's been my locker mate throughout this whole year, and I think Jamar and T get a lot of pub, and rightfully so. I mean, they're unbelievable players. But I think TB at least in my experience over the last couple of years here and watching this place, I wasn't here when it was bad, but watching it kind of climb to the next level, I think TB is an unsung hero, or like a guy that pulls a lot of weight in the locker room, because those two guys came here and he was kind of the guy, and those two guys came and it's a zero-sum game. You can't throw the ball to three people every play, and so there's a lot of touches that went other people's ways that but he kind of set the tone that this is not going to be a prima donna room, and that it's just really about winning and going as hard as you can. And I'll always have a lot of respect for TB and just how he carried himself. I think he's I throw 3 picks against Pittsburgh, his hometown, and in front of his whole family basically. Come into the locker room, he's like, "Hey man, shake that off. Like, everybody has one of those games." And so I'll always remember that. It was kind of like I said earlier, you remember what people were like when something bad just happened. And so I'll always think very highly of Tyler.
How much are those kind of people important to creating winning cultures and just winning locker rooms in general?
I mean, I think I can only speak to my experience, but our franchise quarterback goes down. He breaks his, I guess, wrist. I don't remember exactly what it is, but he gets hurt. First play, I come out and we call it naked. It's not like we were, hey, let's roll out to your left and be aggressive. And so that kind of set the tone. Then you fast forward a couple days and Joe's out. He sits up here and has to tell everybody like, hey, I'm out. He's obviously, there's a lot of emotions involved with that, but he immediately said, hey, Jake's going to play great, and I got a lot of confidence in him, and that was just echoed by him, Zach, teammates, and so it's an objectively difficult position to just step into, but it becomes much easier when you got the franchise guy saying, hey, I think you're going to tear it up, and great job, and sending me texts after games and being very supportive, and just feeling like there was a lot of confidence in me, whether people were faking that or not. It was appreciated, and I think was a big reason why we were able to string some wins together. Obviously, it was not enough, but I think it's been a special year for me, and I'll always kind of remember just different interactions this year, maybe more so than years going forward or years in the past, just because it's kind of my first time getting some action.
Did Joe say anything to you after today's game? Burrow?
I'll keep those conversations private, but yeah, Joe's been great. Which is probably the least surprising thing of this whole year.
Your teams, around the league, their starting quarterback gets hurt and the wheels fall off for their season. Like almost from a culture perspective here, what led to some stability down the stretch, even though you guys did come up short.
I mean, yeah, all the things I just said were big, but I think a big part of that too is I had been preparing for that for a long time, and I had a lot of support after the Ravens game, after the Steelers game, but there were flashes there that earned that support too, and then we kind of got hot there for a while for 3 games, and there's a lot that goes into it, and I'll give credit to the culture and stuff like that, but there's a big part of it too. Like I was prepared and I was playing well, and so you kind of, maybe if there were some people I didn't think it was going to go well, they didn't have a choice but to kind of believe after that.
You had right now you have the opportunity to say to people that are in your position, whether it be them on the practice squad and wondering what their futures are going to be, what advice would you give to those that were in a position that you were ahead of the season and taking the opportunity like you did and made the most of it?
Yeah, I think for guys on practice squad, I think there's 3 buckets you can fall into, and you don't want to fall into any of them. You don't want to be the guy that gets cut a few times and loses your confidence. I think the second you do that, you're screwed. But those guys work really hard because they're trying to build themselves up. I think the second one is the guys that I think they're getting screwed, and there probably is usually a half truth there, but those guys never lose their confidence, but they probably don't work as hard as they need to. And then there's the guys that I'm just happy to be here, and you want to have that in the right situations, like on Sunday when you're in a hoodie, or Wednesday when Joe's going through whatever. Like, you still got to remember you're in the NFL, but you also don't want to be the guy that isn't working hard enough to have your when your opportunity does come, if it comes. I mean, there's plenty of people that it does not ever come. You want to be prepared, and so I think navigating those three buckets you can kind of fall into, take the good with the bad of each one of those buckets, avoiding the bad and taking the good is kind of the way to navigate it.
For a practice squad guy or a backup guy, how do you keep that confidence in yourself that you are one of the top 32 quarterbacks in the NFL?
I mean, it's a little bit easier now, but I think before it was pretty difficult. You know, I've always, like I said, I've always been confident in myself, and it's not just like some delusional confidence. Like I've done very well in practices. I can throw really well. I've always been really accurate, and I've always been, you know, more athletic than people think. But I think, you know, the hardest part was keeping it for the 4 years where you're being told you're not good enough to be on the 53, but we'll still keep you around. So I think for me now, you know, I felt like 2022 preseason, I got to watch myself play, and I gained a lot of value out of that and had a great offseason because of that. And so now with more tape, you know, I think navigating the balance of, hey, I played really well, but there's always going to be something you can get better at. And so that's kind of going to be my focus going into the offseason.
Jake, now that now that the season's over, you can focus on college football again. You got your Washington jacket on.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a plan formulated to dunk on the Michigan guys if Washington wins?
To dunk on them, no. Just, I mean, I don't know. I think I said before, I refuse to be some negative alum. So whatever happens Monday, you know, I'm proud to be a Husky alum, and it's been awesome watching them. I love watching Michael Penix. I feel like he just plays. It doesn't seem like the moment's ever too bright. And some quarterbacks you see, like, you know, you get into these big games and you kind of shell up not to lose the game, and he does not have that. So it's awesome to watch, and I think, you know, he's one of the best quarterbacks in college football. And you can say what you want about the draft or potential. I mean, he's unbelievable, and it's been fun to watch.
No friendly bet with Dax or DJ or anything.
No, I don't want to take their money.
Did you have the milestones for Mixon and Chase in the back of your mind, or were you just playing them?
I was just playing, but I mean, I knew. I told Mixon if I threw him 2 touchdowns, I better get a good present. So only one, so no present. But yeah, I mean, I think anytime you're in a game like that, where you know you're not going to the playoffs, it's good to give them a little extra cash.
What are you doing for the game tomorrow night? What are you doing for the game?
I'll be there.
You got to watch them, and you had them at your disposal, but TV, Jamar, T, what type of impact those three together on the field at the same time have they had on this entire week?
Yeah, I think anytime you have one, it's much easier to take away one than it is to take away 2 and 3. And so if you're kind of all of your pass game goes through one person, then it can be, you know, pretty easy, especially on third down is where it shows up the most. And so just having 3 guys like that, and then another name I'd throw in there is Tanner Hudson. I mean, he's kind of been in a similar situation as me, where he's up and down off P squads, and he kind of been at the bottom of rosters. And I mean, he's a huge part of what we were able to do. You know, third down, even first and second down, the red zone. I mean, he's really good. You know, I don't know if he's as big as Kelsey, and I'm probably going to get a bunch of crap for the comparison, but you know, like his ability to be able to feel where he's open and adjust routes, you know, to make himself open. You can't really coach that, and he's a really good player. I think he's going to be. I don't know if I don't even know his contract situation. I don't know my own. I don't know his, but hopefully he's still here, and you know, I think he's an unbelievable player.
Have you ever had a 99-yard drive?
Probably at some point, but I don't know.
Is there a little spat between you and Zach during that drive?
No. I lost my cool for a second, and luckily Zach is a very forgiving person and not a jerk, because if I were him, I would have screamed at me in the helmet.
Do you care to share what exactly hurt?
No. It's not bad. It's just I lost my cool in the moment, and he was great as always, and just pretty much I think he's always here, and he just stayed right there as I was through the roof, pissed off, and yeah, I can't be doing that to the guy that gave me a shot, and just, it was bad.
Is that part of what makes him, like, guys really like playing for him, why you obviously want to get him winning record? Is that because he can handle those situations and be kind of the same guy, not always when you need him to be?
Yeah, I think one of the things that is most impressive about being in this building is, like, Zach encourages you to be who you are. Like, he is not – I've never felt the pressure to, like, get up in front of the team and be the rah-rah guy because I'm the quarterback for these last couple games. He's, hey, be yourself, you know, whether that's how you conduct yourself in interviews or, you know, how you are outside of the facilities. Say, be yourself, protect the team, but be yourself. And that's not the case everywhere. I think there's a ton of effort and thought to intentionally create a culture where people can be themselves.
Do you think you had TV for 6 on the one where they jumped?
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those where, like, they jump, so I knew what the coverage was, and the guy that's supposed to take it away is the corner overlapping because it's 22 invert, double invert. And so, you know, you can lead him hoping to get the 70-yarder, or you can drive it on him because I didn't know where the corner was, trying to just make sure he gets the ball. And then he got caught in the wind, and I probably should have let him, and he probably would have scored, but shoulda, woulda, coulda.
Zach's always happen on culture. Did you think today was today a culture day?
I mean, I'm not going to make it out to be more than it was. Everybody showed up, worked hard, did what they were supposed to do. They obviously were not playing all their guys, so I'm not going to sit up here and harp too much on the win. Felt good to win, but I think the culture is much more than just, you know, that.